You are enough, and welcome to Satisfying Saturdays with Hopeful Hawk. So, Lady Gaga says, tell yourself a lie until you believe it. And my teacher Marissa Peer has a book called Tell Yourself a Better Lie. But I don't believe they're lies. I believe they are the truth. I believe they are the truth of who we are because we were born enough. You are enough. You've lived this long. You've survived this long. You've come this far. You are enough. And if nobody's ever told you this before, you are enough and I love you. So why is it important to be enough? Because if we're not enough, how are we ever going to get through life? How are we ever going to survive things again? How are we ever going to deal with what comes up? And our society does not teach us to be enough. Our schools don't. You have to go to specific schools to where they teach you those things. In the general education of America, and I used to be married to a teacher, and I am the son of people who were teachers. They don't teach enoughness. They don't teach empowerment. Why? Because one, it hasn't been taught to them. Two, the powers that be behind the powers we see don't want us to know we're enough. Otherwise, they couldn't sell us all the crap they have. Hey, you feeling bad? Here's a pill. Hey, you're feeling bad? Here's a drink. Hey, you're feeling bad? Here's a cigarette, which they're not allowed to advertise the same way they were anymore. But the fact of the matter is, everything is narcissistically placed, extraversial. Everything is done to show us that our power is outside of us. We have no power, and everything must come inside of us to satisfy us. Well, I don't believe that's true anymore. I refuse to believe that's true anymore. And I will never believe it again. We are all infinite spiritual beings, or infinite cosmic beings, or infinite energetic beings, however you wish to see it, having a limited human experience. And this 0.01% of our energetic form is an illusion. So why not have the best illusion possible? Why not? Choose to have the best life. Choose to have a satisfying life. No matter what you do, your decisions affect who you are. Okay. The only regret that I have, and it's not even a regret because if it was supposed to happen, it would have, is seeing Rush play live before Neil Peart died. However, that's the closest I come to having any regret. And believe me, there are a lot of things that people could say, you should regret that. Well, no, I should forgive that. I should let it go. Because why should I carry a bunch of regret and shame and blame around with me? Why should I carry that heavy weight? Why should I regret being married and having 2 beautiful sons be born? Why should I regret the last relationship I had that caused me to go through the dark night of my soul? And yes, it was dark. It was painful. And I still deal with things. However, life isn't about suffering. Life isn't about enduring. Life isn't about understanding. That's why I always talk about, instead of understanding a problem, oversit the problem with meditation. Let things come up instead of trying to carry them all around. My abuse recovery method here on YouTube is an incredible tool that took me decades to find the bits and pieces of and put them together. The last nearly 6 years, I've been specifically putting it together. And soon I will be releasing it as a full program with supporting videos and education. I'll let you know when that happens. But for now, I know that I'm enough. I'm enough to be able to get up and go to work and change my clothes and take a shower and eat healthy, to do my yoga, asanas, and to meditate, to keep doing these lives, to keep posting videos and content, which I was afraid to do before. And to be truthful with you, if I had started on YouTube when I originally thought about it, it would have taken me this long to figure it out and get to this point. Literally, it would have taken me the same amount of time to get to the same point, and I wouldn't have the same education to start with. Our moods, our feelings are our decisions. Why not feel your enoughness? It's easy. I am enough. I don't have to be a superstar. I don't have to be more than enough. I don't have to be anything but who I am. In the book, The 5 Agreements, the main thing that is stressed is that we are enough to be able to live those agreements. In fact, why don't we just go over them right now? The first one is to be impeccable with your word to and about yourself and all others at all times. If you can do this 100% of the time, wow. If you can do this all of the time, it's incredible. The way you can live when you're being impeccable. In yoga, we have ahimsa, which is do no harm, but defend yourself. This is the same with words. There's also one, and I can't remember the name of it at the moment, which is about always telling the truth. And I'll tell you a little secret about telling the truth. Only tell a lie when it's to save the life of a person whom you know is innocent. That's the only time. And believe me, I used to lie about who I was all the time, what I had done. If I had done all of the drugs and things that I said I did, in order to cover up the fact that I think differently than other people. It would have been an incredible way to live. But as far as it goes, it's because I didn't feel enough on my own. Being the scapegoat, being the black sheep of the family, saying no, that is not the truth. Even when there's no evidence to show my side of the situation, I didn't see my side of the situation. All I saw was the truth, because truth is fact. Requires no belief and owns no emotional content. It just simply exists. But I was always gaslighted. So I came up with a story for that. How can you think that way? Well, I've done a lot of drugs. And I have smoked a lot of pot. I would say that, in my lifetime, I smoked probably 500 pounds. That's a lot. As far as drinking beer and whiskey and stuff goes, I would, that old song by Willie Nelson, Whiskey River, hey, I understand that one. I've lived it. I don't miss it. I drank a beer here a while back. Had no effect on me. I burped. Tasted bad. I slept well. But it's not worth it. Not to me. So, something I wonder is, why do they want us to be shamed? Why do we always have to press blame? Why do we always have to feel guilty? Keep running back to them for our fix. In some cases, running back to them for our crucifix. Or a carpet fix. They have the power. they can talk to God. When that great guru, known as Yeshua or Jesus, taught us we are enough. All the great gurus have. Even Buddha, with his emphasis on suffering, taught us we are enough. We are enough to deal with anything that comes up. We are enough to deal with anything we have to. And when we don't know what we're doing, we can always ask questions. We are enough to be able to change who we are and transform. And transformation is key. And I'm going to give you a little secret here about transformation. It's simple. It ain't easy. And the reason it's not easy is because we make it hard. This is so hard. The main thing that is fear of who we're going to become on the other side. Think about that. Who will I be if I let go of me? The second agreement is never take anything personally. That one's hard because we're taught to take everything personally. And here in the United States, we're taught this one-upmanship, putting other people down. Who can come up with the best cut down, the dozens, or whatever you want to call it. Well, hey, you know what? If you're a couple of friends and you're sitting around and you're playing around, okay, maybe that's your way. But instead of the cut downs, why not the build ups? You're enough. Instead of playing, hey, look how far I can cut you without you getting upset, why not play how far I can build you up? Why not play build-ups instead of cut-downs? Because if you cut down a tree, it takes a long time for more to grow back. But if you plant a tree, it gets to help the others grow too. So if we never take anything personally, realizing that the other person has a broken-hearted child in their heart too, it makes life a lot simpler. And then number 3. And that one is never make assumptions. Never make assumptions. Well, I just assumed that. Well, don't. Ask questions. Never assume someone else knows what you know. Never assume you know what's going on just by what you see. Because this thing, which is seeing you and me having this conversation, runs at about 40 to 100 bits per second. That's kind of fast. I remember my first computer, I believe, ran at 8 bits. So 40 to 100 bits is pretty good. But the subconscious mind runs at 4 to 10 million bits per second. That's where all the beliefs lie. That's how we can walk into a room that we live in constantly and know something is off because something's missing, even though we haven't seen it consciously. And then the non-conscious mind, which for a long time, until psychoneurobiology defined it well, was called the unconscious mind, which means to be asleep. The non-conscious mind runs at trillions of bits per second. And that's where a lot of our shadow and shadow beliefs are also. That's where our thoughts are happening that we can't see. So when we make an assumption with our conscious mind, we're dealing with only 40 to 100 bits of the information. And how many kajillion, or whatever word you want to use, how many Googleplexes of terabytes of information are coming at us in any 1 second. There's no way to assume you know what's going on without asking questions. And by the way, it's okay to be ignorant. It's just simply not knowing. When you tell a child, and I've heard a lot of people do it, quit acting ignorant. How can they quit acting like they don't know? Take the time to teach them. And they're just being children. Let them be children. If it's a situation where they need to rein in their childness, okay. Hey, calm down. Slow down. But telling a child to stop acting ignorant, well, that shows your ignorance. And then there's the fourth one. Always do your best. Always do your best. Realizing your best of this moment may not be your best of yesterday or tomorrow, but it's the best you can do. Do your best. No matter what it is. No matter whether you're getting paid for it or not. That's not my job. If I'm not getting paid for it, I'm not doing it. Well, one thing Napoleon Hill taught me is that little habit I had of doing extra was a very important thing. The habit of doing more than paid for. Even if it's a little thing. Do more than you're getting paid for. If all you're doing is equating your energy and your time to money, you're losing out on a lot of life. And always do your best when you're doing that more than paid for. And then finally, the fifth one. And that is always remain skeptical. Now, a lot of people would say, I'm not a skeptic. Always remain skeptical because you don't know what you don't know. This is going back to the ignorance. You don't even know what's out there not to be known. So always remain skeptical. What am I not seeing about this situation? What do I not know about this situation? That old fake it till you make it. Well, in some cases that works. In some cases it can kill you. So, realize you are enough to be able to pull off these 5 simple things, which is basically the golden rule of treat others as you want to be treated, or as you love yourself, love others. It's not hard. It's not hard. And it's much more satisfying way to live than living in this hateful, you owe me situation. You know how many thousands of dollars I've written off just because I really didn't want to be around that person. And the money to me wasn't worth it. Why am I going to bug you about money when I don't even want to be around you? And then you give me money and it causes even more energetic friction. Well, let's not deal with that. Let's love ourselves. Let's find our enoughness. One practice I have is standing in the mirror. I am enough. I love myself. I am free. I shatter those heavy emotional chains of my traumatic past. I refuse to live in guilt and shame anymore. Yeah, I did things. Sometimes I still do. We all do. Not one person was ever born on this planet perfect. I don't care what you say. I don't care what your argument is. Believe what you want. There's not one perfect being that's ever been born on this planet. Some have been closer. But even as small children, they had to be guided and taught certain things. And remember this, even the Dalai Lama has bad days. And as peaceful and compassionate as he was, Jesus knotted up a cord, which is a rope about that big around, used for hauling up heavy things when you're building stuff, and beat a bunch of people up. And he wasn't even religious. He did go to the temple, but he was an Essene, basically the equivalent of a Hebrew yogi. When you read the beliefs of the Essenes, you'll find out that they were basically Hebrew yogis. Just like the Toltecs are Central and South American yogis. It's an incredible way to live when you let go of, well, I deserve, and become, I deserve. Think about that. I am enough. I love myself. I am free. I am grateful, happy, joyful, thankful, worthy, deserving, knowing, and free. I deserve to live the best life possible, but not at the cost of your life or anyone else's. It amazes me how deep I was into narcissism and sociopathy when I was codependent, but how entrenched it is in our culture, especially for women. Especially for women. A comedian once said, you're going to paint your face up to where you look totally different, style your hair, and it's colored totally different than natural. Put all that hairspray in it, paint your nails, wear a push-up bra, wear a corset or girdle, high-heeled shoes, put on a smell, and then walk out the door saying, I deserve a real man. Be real. And men, be real, because men do it too. Grecian formula, I won't use it. I like my streak. I like my gray, my silver, and the white. I've earned them. I've earned my place at the table of graybeards. And I do it all the time. Working to be more and more wise, though I don't claim to be wise. Some of the things I just still do. Wasting time, procrastination and stuff. But you can't shame yourself or anyone else into change. You cannot do it. And I can tell you this, the only reason I say I have changed is because you and I are not sitting in the same room. Maybe we have not even met. But those people who have known me for years, they know. I don't have to tell them I've changed. I see it in their eyes. I see it in their face. I can feel it in their energy. A former friend of mine passed away recently, and I went to the funeral home last week, and the funeral wasn't then, it's today. And I've decided, I love those people very much, but I really don't want to go around them. And why? And I sat and I thought about it, and I'm like, well, there's several reasons. Two of the reasons are that I preached my parents' funerals in that same funeral home, and I'm already feeling a bit triggered about that. But another is I don't want to be around those people again. I don't want to relive those stories. And maybe that's wrong by some people's standards, but to be truthful with you, I don't want to be around that. I've changed. It's simple. I realize my enoughness. And I share it with you because I have enough to give to you. You can't receive until you're giving. You can't give until you're receiving. Enoughness receives itself. If you give what you expect to receive, then it's able to receive, and you must receive. Self-deprecation is not being impeccable with your word. When someone says you're awesome to me, I say thank you. When someone says you're weird to me, I say thank you for the compliment. I am Scorpio after all. I have a little bit of pride about being weird. Cross-reference with strange. Look up eccentric and you'll definitely find a photograph of me, or at least a description. Love yourself. You are enough. Be free. Be free of those harmful thoughts of it has to come from the outside. Someone has to fill me up. When you fill your own cup, you can give someone else a drink. But if your cup's empty, you can't even get a drink. You are enough. And the reason I know you're enough is because you are in existence on this planet at this particular time. No other point in history has been the same as this one. There have been similar ones. But no other point in the history of this planet has been as important as this one that we're going through, because literally the life on this planet, not just human life, life on this planet is in question, is in jeopardy, and we are enough to save it. And carbon dioxide is not the enemy. Overproduction and cutting down the forest is the enemy. Electric cars are not the answer. Why? What do you do with the toxic waste left over after those batteries are no longer used? And look at the mining method for mining lithium. It's like fracking for oil. We can grow hemp, which absorbs twice the amount of carbon dioxide as it gives off when it's burned. And as far as meat goes, from beef, they're cutting down the forests, the old growth forests, and burning the trees so that they can ranch cattle and other animals. And 150 billion tons of food, mainly meat products that are expired, that are required to be expired because they're cut in excess, are thrown away every year. And yet people are starving to death in the streets of this country. It's upside down. It's upside down. But we are enough to go through it. We are enough to step through it. We are enough to change. You cannot remain who you are and expect your life to change. That one's hard. It's hard to accept. Transformation is not as simple as we would like it to be, but it is one decision away. And deciding to let go of whatever the key belief is that's holding you back. Well, why not believe you're enough? Because you are enough. If you weren't enough, you wouldn't even be here, as I've said. And what is enoughness anyway? I mean, seriously, think about it. What is enoughness? What is enough? When do you have enough? I remember an old bumper sticker, "He who dies with the most toys wins." Do you have to win to feel enough? Do you have to have the most toys? I don't. I mean, there are things I want. There are things I have. And I want to keep those things. But as far as it goes, even without anything, even if I was reduced to homelessness and literally only the clothing on my back, I'd still be enough. And I would still tell myself I am enough. I wouldn't stop telling myself I am enough. And I won't. I refuse. Even in the concentration camps, Viktor Frankl knew he was enough. There were times he doubted. He even admits it. But he knew he was enough. His book, Man's Search for Reason, or Meaning, Man's Search for Meaning, is an incredible read. And his Logos Therapy, or Logos Theory, is incredible. And it teaches enoughness. Carl Jung taught enoughness. What an incredible way to live, when we live as if we are already enough. When we realize that our emotions are our own decisions, and we're enough to make that decision, every emotion you experience is your decision. Whether you're reacting in the moment based on prior programming or responding based on looking at a situation. Do I need to be involved? If I need to be involved, what action do I need to take? Do I need to involve my emotion? And if so, what emotion do I need to involve? I've got a little test I give people, and luckily more and more people are passing it, because more and more people are realizing they don't have to react, they can respond. I'm not going to do it here because it's an interactive test. But for many, many years, for 20 years, couldn't find anybody that didn't just automatically react based on assumption. It was an incredible realization when the first person to pass that test had been out of prison for murder that he freely admitted committing, defending his father. Yeah, the first person to pass it. Second person to pass it was also an ex-con. Third person to pass it was a girl. Can't remember what she did for a living. I don't even remember her name. Fourth person to pass it was also female. It's an incredible little test to see what people would do, to see how easy they make assumption before asking questions. And assumption and presumption are basically the same thing. Well, I just presumed. Really? You decided beforehand to assume things. And when you find out that you're enough and you don't have to fill yourself up from the outside and you're filling yourself up from within, people say, well, that's narcissistic. Narcissists are so in love with themselves. But they're not. Narcissists are empty and have to fill themselves up from the outside. That's where the you need this culture comes in, and it's taught incredibly. Pay attention to television, especially the you ladies. Consciously pay attention, and any commercials are going to be louder slightly and a slightly different energy than the show you're watching, no matter how energetic it is. And the ones that are targeted towards females are going to be even slightly louder and slightly more distraught in some ways, if they're wanting you to buy something besides their calm you down pills. And here's a little secret. Not one antidepressant has been shown in clinical trial to chemically alter the system to get rid of depression. I've taken several. I liked bupropion, I can't remember what its brand name was, but it started giving me these little pre-seizure things that helped. Prozac, all of them. What they did was they suppressed things. Depression is looking backwards. If it's chemical, then it's suppression of particular chemicals. When I changed my diet, when I changed my emotional and mental outlook, when I changed the diet of the media I was taking in, I changed my life. I changed my brain. And you can too. I mean, it's proven you can change your thoughts. It's proven that the thought trees that exist eventually die off and new neuronal passages are made. New thought trees are grown. It takes time. It does take time. As Napoleon Hill says, you get a ship going up, it's going full speed, and you need to turn around, take it back to port, and it's stuck in full speed. You can't just turn it on a dime. It takes time to go around. Well, I know this because it's taken me years, and it's okay. It's the journey, not the destination, because ultimately the destination is letting go of this body anyway. Living in service to others. It's part of what Satisfying Saturdays are all about anyway. I find it very satisfying to sit here and talk with you. I find it very enjoyable to sit here and say, hey, look, I've been studying for years. Here's what I've found out. Used to, I read a lot of fiction. And there's nothing wrong with fiction. Read a lot of fantasy, read a lot of science fiction. I used to read horror. What's his name? H.P. Lovecraft. Incredible author. Stephen King said H.P. Lovecraft is the 20th century's Edgar Allan Poe. Nah. I've read Edgar Allan Poe. Interesting author, but hey, when you can go for 2 pages without a period or even a comma, dude, put the morphine down. Seriously. But H.P. Lovecraft had a way of sucking you into the story to such a way that you were there. So when I write my fiction now, I write from the I perspective. I work from the I perspective. And you deserve it. I work from the I am enough perspective. And you deserve to work from that perspective too. Sit down and write down all of the things you're proud of yourself for doing in your life. Even if it's washing your grandmother's car or just washing the dishes this morning after breakfast. And see how many things you've done in your life that you're proud of. Instead of looking at the things that happened to you, look at the things that happened as you. Yeah. Look at the things that happened as you. Life is happening as you no matter what. We're taught that life is happening to us. Then there are places where we realize that life is happening for us, and sometimes we can hold on to that, sometimes not. Then we get to a point where life is happening through us, and it's like, wow, okay, this is great. There's still ups and downs, but it's there. And then we get to the realization that it's always been happening as us. Our belief systems realized. The law of attraction and law of assumption and all that really does work. They're quantum principles. Like attracts like. They say, well, negative attracts positive, and opposites attract. No, the negative attracts the negative through the positive. Ask a physicist, they'll tell you the same. And when it comes to people opposites attracting, no, reflections attract. Some people would have said that the ex-wife and I were completely opposites. We were very much the same in many ways, and complete reflections of each other's deep wounding. I have a lot of compassion for her. I have a lot of love for her as the mother of my sons. But we weren't opposites attracting. We were likes, sames. Your vibe attracts your tribe, and that's proven sonically as well as through physics. Put a tuning fork on one side of the room, strike a tuning fork that's tuned in the same frequency over here, and that one's going to go. That's the way it works. So life happens as you, and you are enough for it to continue happening as you. When I was young, and I was taught, God is love. God hates you. God is love. God cursed you. God is love. You have to believe some dead guy saved you. God is love. God hates you. That didn't make sense. That's not what the guy that killed said. And I don't believe they killed him, but I'm not going to get into that here. I don't believe in dogma of any kind, whether it's politics, whether it's religion, whether it's sports, whether it's psychology, whatever it is. If there's a dogma involved with it, I refuse to believe it. Principles, ethics, morals, values. These are things I believe in, but I don't base them on dogma, where it's got to be this way, it's got to be this way for everybody. There's right and wrong. No, there are things that happen, and our viewpoint of them. Well, this book says, well, this book says, well, this book says. I can tell you what, I've never heard a book speak. I've had words touch me, and the metaphor of them speaking to me, but I've never actually heard a book speak or say anything. I love myself. I am enough. I am free. Why not? Why not give it a chance? Why not set an alarm on your phone for 12 times a day, and once an hour? Dee, 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 dee. I am enough. I love myself. I'm free. Do that for 30 days. Think about it this way. If you only change your life by 1% for the better every day, it's not, I'm only getting 1%. I'm getting 1%. That's 365% a year. And if you figure it out by compound interest, it's even more. And on leap years, you get 366. Actually, no matter what, you get 365 in about a quarter. Why not? Why not? A motto, or one of my mottos, is a millimeter a mile progress every day. Standing still is not regression. It is strategic observation for tactical implementation. Sometimes you have to stop. And you have to look around and survey. Where am I? Okay, this is where I've come from. This is where I'm going. This is where I am. Okay. Well, seems that there's something here. Okay, I'm going to have to go around the traffic jam. Millimeter or a mile progress every day. Standing still is not regression. It is strategic observation for tactical implementation. And no fear. Remember the no fear movement? I ain't afraid of nothing. Well, okay, I don't care whether you are or you aren't. But people that say they aren't afraid are afraid of being seen afraid. But living with fear knowing it exists, knowing it's a viable situation that keeps us alive, is different than living in fear. The dragon's going to eat us. No matter what we do, the dragon's going to eat us. So we're going to hide behind a rock. The dragon's going to eat me. The dragon's going to eat me. The dragon's going to eat me. Well, I pull my sword, stand on the rock, and jump into his mouth, stabbing for the roof of his mouth, so at least he remembers the meal. Neil deGrasse Tyson's father had put on his tombstone, refused to die until you've scored some victory for humanity. And if that is helping change the life of one person, that's a victory for humanity. I receive comments every day talking about, hey, you touched me. Hopefully that helps that person's life change. When I do clinical therapy, hey, you changed my life. Actually, I teach you how to change your life at the subconscious level, but hey, that's great. Love yourself. You are enough. Be free. You are worth it. No matter what anybody else has told you, quit worrying about the external validation. It's not really worth it anyway. I've got pieces of paper on my wall. Hey, that's great. Look what I've accomplished. Look what I've achieved. It's nice to be able to show things that say, hey, look what I've achieved. But if the house burns down and those get burned, I've got a high school diploma and a GED because the repository flooded and the private school records were in the basement. So I had to go get a GED just to be able to say I have a diploma. And when I took it in, they said, well, you know, the way things are nowadays with Hollywood and all this stuff, it could be aged and all that stuff. You could fake it. And I'm like, really? Okay. So I went and got a GED. Why not? I've got it. So they say, did you graduate from high school? Yes. Do you have a GED? Yes. And they'll ask me about it and I'll tell them the story. And they go, wow. That is a funny thing. But that's just kind of the strangeness and weirdness of being me. And that's one of those little anecdotes I like. I've got many of them. A really strange one. I wrote a lesbian play for a black strip club and got paid $150 for it. And when I turned it into the lady, she said, wow, this is way more than we were expecting. And probably way above the level of these people that are working here to be able to accomplish. But it gives us some ideas. So there was an ad in the paper and I didn't have a job and it said playwright. So I called and said, what's up? And it's like, I'm going to pay $150 if you write this play. I'm like, okay. So I did. And I got paid for it. I wanted to go on a musical tour. And my meditation teacher, who's a monk, also happens to be a folk singer, Dadaveda Pragyananda. Dadaveda. He said, hey, you go on tour with me. We'll go out to this yoga retreat. Come back. I'll pay you. I'll pay your way. He did give me some money at the end, and that's okay. I wasn't expecting it. I wasn't worried about it. But I got to go to a yoga retreat. I got to go all the way to California and back. I drove 4,000 out of 4,600 miles. That was awesome. I've been on national tour. The next time I go on national tour, hopefully it will be a little higher class situation as far as the clubs played. But if not, hey, it'll be enjoyable. And I'll still do Satisfying Saturdays. I'll still do my morning videos. I'll still work on my programs to help people heal. I'll still be working on me, realizing I am enough. I'm enough. I love myself. I am free. I am free. This hawk is soaring. From the outside in, my life looks a little distraught right now. And some days from the inside out too. But I know that my habit stacking is working. One thing I'm going to do when I finish this video is go look in the mirror. Hawk, I'm proud of you for doing your video today. Hawk, I'm proud of you for doing your live today. Hawk, I forgive you for not meditating beforehand. Hawk, I commit to you we're going to keep doing this. I'm proud of you, and 7 things, use your name. I forgive you for 7 things, use your name. I commit to you 7 things, and use your name. I'm enough. I love myself. I am free. Simple, little tools. Put I am enough on Post-it notes and put it on all 4 walls of your room. That way, that 4 to 10 million bits per second that walk in, you may not consciously look at those little pieces of paper. Though I suggest walking in for the first few days and doing so. Specifically look at them. I'm enough. I love myself. I am free on every wall of every room in your house. And that 4 to 10 million bits per second, your consciousness is going to pick up on it. Or subconscious. It's going to pick up on it. You're not going to be able to look in any direction in your house without that subconscious picking up. Oh, I know what's on that piece of paper. I love myself. I am enough. I'm free. How do I know this works? I had 3x5 cards all over my apartment at my parents' house. I had a wall that had all of these beliefs. I've got, let's see, a stack of that is about 100. So I've probably got about 5,000 of them. And I'll probably turn into a book one day of just quotes, statements. And I am happy now. I am grateful. Be yourself. Yourself is enoughness. Love yourself. Yourself is enoughness. Be free. Freedom is enoughness. Take your time. Everybody's always in such a rush. I don't have enough time. Sure you do. If you've got enough time to worry, you've got enough time to not worry. I shot my abuse recovery method from beginning to end, except for the hypno modules. And I went back and I was editing. I'm like, okay, I need to do this again at a different time of day because I like to shoot outside. But I need to do it at a different time of day so lighting's better, and also I need to take my time. And it was okay. You know, I enjoyed it, the process. And I'm going to go and I'm going to watch the videos I already made, and I'm going to make notes, and then I'm going to reshoot because I am enough. And it doesn't have to be perfect. Constant, consistent, imperfect action. Or as I like to say, constant, consistent, inspired action. Up until now, I haven't realized my enoughness in this way, but now I do. Up until now, I haven't loved myself in this way, but now I do. Up until now, I haven't realized my freedom. Love yourself. You are enough. Be free. Free your heart. Free your heart. So know this. I love you. I may not have met you yet. I may never meet you. You're a subconscious projection of me. We are all the great ising itself as us. There is no separation. And I love me, so I also love you. Now, our individuations may not get along. That's okay. We love a 2-year-old even though they're throwing a tantrum or teething or whatever. Love yourself. You are enough. You already are free. You have to realize it. I love myself. I am enough. I am free. And I love you. You are worth it. You are worth it. I love you.